Stay focused on you.
No, it's not fair.
But it
I'll
sounds
end it
like
there.
it's tit for tat.
No.
Like you did it because I did it.
No, I'm not
Stay
saying
fair.
it. What?
Y'all, listen up. This was never meant to see daylight, because the second this video allegedly hit Cecil Whitmore's phone, nothing was ever going to stay the same. Not the marriage, not the reputations, and absolutely not the carefully curated image everyone believed they knew. According to Cecil, this wasn't a rumor, a murmur, or some online fairy tale. This was a video, a real one, delivered straight to him. And the very first word he used to describe it was disturbing. Not puzzling, not debatable, disturbing. Sources allege the footage supposedly shows a private hotel room, doors sealed, curtains pulled, silence screaming louder than words, and right there in what Cecil calls undeniable clarity, where Dr. Simone and Dr. Damon, too close, painfully close. Close enough that excuses begin to collapse. Same bed, same blanket, same moment locked in time. Cecil insists this wasn't speculation. This wasn't imagination. This was captured in 4K. Every second crisp, every frame ruthless. And what made it worse? The video was allegedly sent by Dr. Heavenly herself after she reportedly walked in and caught them when they thought nobody was watching. And that's exactly where this story turns sinister. Cecil now claims that not long after this alleged video existed, accusations suddenly surfaced. Allegations about money, about $60,000, about him, about their son, Michael. And according to Cecil, those claims weren't random. They were calculated, a diversion, a shield, a way to bury what couldn't be explained. Now, social media is in flames. Lines are being drawn. Silence is under interrogation. And one video, just one, has allegedly transformed a private betrayal into a public tragedy. Because if this footage is real, then this isn't gossip anymore. It's an explosion.
Let me say this. I plead the fifth.
Okay.
But we can never say that based on how somebody looks that they would never cheat.
Correct.
You don't know who has the ability to cheat.
Tammy.
And it's not based on
Tammy.
their looks.
Strap in, because what allegedly went down behind closed doors didn't just crack a relationship. It detonated a whole public narrative in slow motion. Sources close to the situation say this saga didn't start with shouting or scandal. It kicked off with a phone buzzing in the dark, a message landing out of nowhere, and a video one man claims he can't unsee. Cecil Whitmore, through people near him, allegedly got a clip that would rewrite everything he thought he knew. Not a rumor, not a screenshot, a full video. Short, silent, devastating. Sources say Cecil paused before hitting play, clueless that the next few seconds would split his life into before and after. The footage, he later admitted, wasn't graphic, but it didn't have to be. Context spoke volumes. The setting, insiders claim, was a private hotel room, neutral walls, heavy curtains, a space meant to erase all traces. In the frame, two figures appeared, Dr. Simone and Dr. Damon. Close enough that distance disappeared. Same bed, same blanket. A stillness that screamed intimacy rather than accident. No chaos, no confusion, just a quiet closeness that, according to one source, said more than words ever could. Cecil allegedly recognized the room immediately. He saw the posture, the familiarity, the comfort. And what hit him hardest, sources say, was the calm. This wasn't a moment of panic caught mid-explanation. This was a moment that looked lived in, practiced, normal. The kind of normal that doesn't happen once. What allegedly made this whole mess explode, according to multiple sources, was how the video even came to exist. The clip was reportedly sent by Dr. Heavenly, someone insiders say walked into that room at the absolute worst possible moment. No warning, no time to separate, no chance to spin the story, just shock, silence, and a phone lifted before anyone could react. People close to the drama insist Dr. Heavenly didn't drop the footage publicly. She supposedly sent it privately, essentially saying, "This is what I saw, and this is what you deserve to know." That single move, sources argue, turned a secret into undeniable evidence, and evidence carries weight. As Cecil allegedly watched the clip over and over, he began connecting dots that once seemed harmless. Missed calls, shifted tones, long nights conveniently explained as work. The kind of details that only make sense once truth lands. Friends say he didn't scream, didn't throw anything, he went quiet. And quiet, in moments like this? Dangerous. Then came the second blow. According to sources loyal to Cecil, accusations soon emerged claiming he and his son Michael blew through $60,000 recklessly. Cecil reportedly believes this wasn't random. He allegedly insists these claims were a strategic diversion, designed to muddy the waters and distract from the video that could collapse everything. Those close to him say Cecil felt trapped. Betrayed in private, then attacked publicly. In his eyes, the narrative flipped, turning him from the victim into the accused. And once that switch happens, it's nearly impossible to undo. Impossible to undo. What came next, insiders claim, felt less like a family spat and more like a courtroom with no judge. Every chat turned into testimony. Every pause screamed guilt. Every denial sounded rehearsed. People picked sides without ever knowing the full story. In scandals like this, perception moves faster than proof. Social media caught wind immediately. Questions exploded. Why the secrecy? Why the sudden money talk? Why no explanation? And the most chilling question of all, if nothing was wrong, why did the video even exist? Sources insist Cecil never intended this to go public. He allegedly sought acknowledgement, honesty, closure. Instead, he found himself in a storm where every word could be twisted into a weapon. Friends describe him as devastated, not just as a partner, but as a father, watching his child's name dragged into a drama he never chose. Meanwhile, the silence from the other side fueled speculation. No clear denials, no detailed explanations, only measured statements that observers say felt more legal than emotional. In the court of public opinion, that distinction matters. People close to the situation say Cecil felt like he was replaying the video in real time as it echoed through conversations he couldn't control. That still frame, that shared space, that intimacy that wasn't his anymore, each retelling stripped another layer of privacy away. Behind the scenes, insiders claim the pressure mounted to contain everything, settle quietly, and move on. But here's the kicker. Moving on is tricky when the past keeps looping on a screen. This wasn't just about infidelity, sources say. It was about power, perception, and who controls the story when evidence exists but remains unseen by the public. Once a video is known to exist, its shadow carries as much weight as the footage itself. As part 1 wraps, the situation remains unresolved. The video, allegedly still private, looms over everyone like an unspoken verdict. Accusations linger, trust is fractured, and the one question nobody can escape is brutal. If the truth ever comes out fully, who survives it? In scandals like this, silence isn't peace, it's the sound of something breaking slowly, then all at once. The tension only deepened with each passing day, because unresolved stories don't fade, they ferment. People familiar with the situation claim the video's existence quietly rewired every interaction. Conversations turned guarded. Words were measured. Behind closed doors, what once felt like a private betrayal morphed into a legal chess match where every move mattered. Sources say Cecil Whitmore didn't confront anyone immediately. Instead, he allegedly sought confirmation, not from rumors, not from social media, but from patterns that suddenly couldn't be ignored. He replayed timelines in his head, trips that overlapped, excuses that now rang hollow. Moments once dismissed as misunderstandings began forming a picture he never wanted to see. And the cruelest truth, according to those close to him? The video didn't introduce a new reality, it confirmed an old one. He had refused to face. Insiders say the emotional toll was plain to see. Cecil Whitmore reportedly pulled back, not from apathy, but from sheer survival. He wasn't just processing betrayal anymore, he was calculating consequences. Once allegations exist, they don't stay locked up, they seep into reputations, careers, and families who never signed up for any of it. Meanwhile, sources claim pressure ramped up to control the narrative. Quiet talks allegedly happened, urging discretion, restraint, and silence for everyone's sake. But in situations like this, silence rarely shields the person already wounded. It shields the image under threat. The $60,000 spending claims, people close to Cecil say, didn't disappear, they escalated. What began as whispers allegedly hardened into talking points, repeated enough to feel like fact. Cecil reportedly felt his credibility eroding piece by piece, while the main issue, the video, remained untouched. In his eyes, this wasn't coincidence, it was a deflection. Those near him say he watched as sympathy shifted. Questions stopped being about the hotel room and started revolving around money, responsibility, and character. And once the spotlight drifts, it's nearly impossible to pull it back. Observers described the chaos like a courtroom without walls. No judges, but juries were everywhere, screens, comment sections, private chats, opinions forming faster than facts. Each side presented curated fragments of truth, while the full story remained locked behind a video no one else had seen. Sources allege Cecil Whitmore wrestled with a brutal choice: protect privacy or protect himself. Releasing the footage, even partially, could scar everyone involved permanently, including a child already pulled into the drama. Keeping it private meant letting accusations stand unanswered. Either option carried irreversible damage. Friends say this is where the tragedy deepened. Cecil wasn't just defending his name, he was fighting to shield his son from becoming collateral damage. Michael's name, insiders say, was never supposed to be part of this. Yet suddenly it was spoken alongside scandal, money, and blame. Sources claim that's what finally broke him. Meanwhile, the lack of detailed responses only fueled speculation. Carefully worded statements, denials without specifics, and strategic silence amplified public suspicion. In moments like this, perception is everything. And what the public felt was emotion, control, calculated, measured, cold. Observers began asking uncomfortable questions. Why did no one address the video directly? Why now the financial accusations? And why did every explanation orbit everything except the footage itself? Insiders say the video's power came from what it didn't show. No chaos, no panic, just familiarity, comfort, a closeness that hinted at history. That implication, sources argue, was more devastating than any explicit act could be, because it suggested something ongoing, something intentional. And as the narrative spiraled, Cecil Whitmore reportedly felt completely isolated. Allies went silent, neutral parties stepped back, and those who once checked in stopped calling entirely. Scandal has a funny way of showing who's there for truth and who's there for convenience. Behind the scenes, sources say legal concerns crept in, not lawsuits, but risk assessments. What could be said? What couldn't? What might blow everything up beyond repair? By then, the story wasn't about betrayal anymore, it was about containment. But containment crumbled the moment public curiosity ignited. Once people know a video exists, imagination fills in the blanks, and imagination is rarely kind. Observers describe Cecil as emotionally drained, carrying a truth he couldn't share and accusations he couldn't shake. Every attempt to move forward dragged the past back into focus. The hotel room, the blanket, the stillness, the moment that allegedly changed everything. What makes this uniquely tragic, sources say, is that resolution seems impossible without exposure. Yet exposure risks destroying more than it reveals. That paradox is where everyone now lives. As this chapter continues, one thing is obvious to those watching closely: this isn't gossip anymore. It's about whose version becomes permanent. Once a story hardens in public memory, facts struggle to soften it. The video remains unseen, but its shadow dominates every conversation. Accusations echo, and silence grew heavier, and the emotional toll kept rising, especially for those who never signed up to be part of this mess. In stories like this, there are no winners, only survivors. And as the pressure mounted, the question hanging over everything wasn't what happened, but how much more damage would occur before the truth, whatever it is, finally came out. The pressure didn't snap all at once. It tightened slowly, like a room losing air. Sources close to the situation say what followed was a period of uneasy calm that felt anything but peaceful. Every move was calculated, every word weighed, and every silence carried a meaning that refused to fade. People claim Cecil Whitmore began documenting everything, not for show, but for survival. Messages saved. Dates noted. Timelines reconstructed with the precision of someone who knew memory alone wouldn't suffice. In private, he allegedly repeated the same line to those he trusted. This is no longer about emotion, it's about truth. And truth, once questioned publicly, demands structure. What made things worse, insiders say, was the widening ripple of impact. Friends of friends started talking. Industry contacts quietly took sides. Invitations dried up. Rooms went cold. The alleged video became an invisible force, shaping outcomes without ever being seen. In scandals like this, absence can speak louder than exposure. According to sources familiar with the exchanges, attempts were made to de-escalate. Mediation was suggested. Surfaced. Suggestions to clear up misunderstandings were floated, but Cecil Whitmore reportedly saw these efforts as premature, even performative. To him, reconciliation without acknowledgement felt like erasure. And erasure, he believed, would leave him permanently on the defensive. Sources say the emotional toll intensified around one unspoken fear: permanence. Once a narrative solidifies, it calcifies. Cecil allegedly realized that if the spending accusations kept circulating unchecked, they would outlive any quiet resolution. What troubled him most, insiders note, was how easily financial claims overshadowed the original issue, shifting focus from conduct to character. Observers described the public reaction as fragmented, some fixated on loyalty, others on money. A growing segment questioned everyone's motives, but nearly all returned to the same unresolved core: footage no one had verified. That uncertainty became the engine of the story. Behind the scenes, sources claim conversations grew more legal in tone, not confrontational, but cautious. Words like implications, liability, and exposure entered discussions once centered on trust. The shift signaled a bigger problem. This had moved from private crisis to reputational risk. Supporters of Cecil say this is where the tragedy sharpened. He wasn't seeking public vindication. He wanted the narrative to pause without him, to be heard without burning everything down. Yet every path forward demanded a sacrifice: privacy, peace, or protection for his child. Insiders say the repeated mention of Michael's name continued to haunt the process. What started as an adult dispute, through repetition, pulled a younger life into its orbit. Cecil Whitmore reportedly drew a line there. Sources say he refused any option that would amplify harm to his son, even if it meant personal damage. On the other side, the response stayed controlled. No sweeping explanations, no emotional counterpoints, just restraint that some read as discipline and others as distance. Without clarity, interpretations multiplied, and each new theory made the original facts harder to isolate. Observers noticed a subtle shift. Sympathy no longer flowed in one direction. Fatigue set in. Audiences used to quick resolutions grew restless. They wanted closure. They wanted clarity. They wanted the unseen revealed. That appetite, once awakened, rarely goes unsatisfied. Sources say Cecil wrestled with the ethics of disclosure. He allegedly believed releasing the video could answer questions instantly, but at the cost of irreversible collateral damage. In that calculus, there were no clean outcomes, only varying degrees of harm. The alleged hotel room remained the silent witness. Details, the same space, shared stillness, familiarity, kept resurfacing in retellings, each time gaining weight. What made it devastating, sources argue, wasn't just proximity, it was the implication of duration, of something sustained rather than spontaneous. As weeks went by, insiders claimed the situation hit a breaking point. Quiet containment no longer worked. Conversations leaked, context slipped, and once fragments escape, they rarely return intact. Each retelling sharpened edges, blurred nuance, and hardened positions. Sources close to Cecil Whitmore say he began preparing for a future where the truth might surface without his consent. Screenshots, summaries, second-hand accounts, a narrative built around a video instead of by it. That prospect, they argue, felt worse than any deliberate release. Observers likened it to a stalled verdict. Everyone sensed an outcome approaching, but no one could predict its shape. Careers hung in uncertainty. Relationships recalibrated. The emotional toll quietly mounted unevenly across everyone involved. What makes this chapter especially sobering, according to sources, is the absence of resolution. No public reckoning, no definitive denials addressing specifics, no confirmation to end speculation, just a widening gap between what is known and what is believed. As the story moves forward, the consequences appear less about scandal and more about erosion. Trust erodes, patience erodes, the benefit of the doubt erodes, and when those foundations weaken, even small disclosures can trigger outsized collapse. Observers say the tragedy isn't just the alleged betrayal, but the aftermath, the slow, grinding process of living in uncertainty, where every choice carries risk, where silence speaks, where truth feels both necessary and destructive. The video remains unseen. Accusations persist. And the people at the center continue navigating a landscape reshaped by a moment they cannot rewind. One thing is already clear to those paying attention. This story has passed the point where quiet fixes work. What's left is endurance, enduring scrutiny, doubt, and consequences still unfolding. And as the public waits for clarity, the cost of ignorance rises, not in headlines, but in the lasting damage when a private fracture becomes a public reckoning. What happens next depends on what stays hidden and what finally surfaces. At this point, silence isn't neutral. It's a choice. And every choice made in the dark carries consequences once the lights turn on. Sources say the pressure hasn't eased, it's intensified. Behind polite statements and controlled appearances, something is clearly breaking. You feel it in the pauses, the careful wording, in what's avoided rather than addressed. This is the moment narratives lock in, where the loudest version becomes the one remembered forever. And if that unseen footage exists as insiders claim, the cost of pretending it doesn't is climbing by the hour. Careers don't collapse instantly, they erode. Trust doesn't vanish overnight, it leaks. Reputations don't die loudly, they suffocate quietly. Viewers aren't dumb, they notice patterns, connect dots, and ask questions no one wants to answer. Why no explanation? Why this angle? Why money talk instead of the room everyone whispers about? When stories pivot without clarity, suspicion fills the gaps. And once suspicion hardens, control slips. This isn't about taking sides, it's about accountability. It's about whether truth gets managed or acknowledged. And it's about the people caught in the crossfire who never asked to be characters in someone else's damage control. The longer this drags on, the more collateral it creates. Here's the reality. Either clarity comes voluntarily, or it arrives via leaks, fragments, and second-hand retellings no one can steer. There's no rewind button, only the next move and the fallout that follows. Watch who speaks and who doesn't. Pay attention to what's said, and what's carefully left out. Because when a story reaches this stage, the ending doesn't whisper, it